Hello, I'm Charles Kovess. Welcome to this week's episode of The Charles Kovess Show. In this week's show, I discuss industrial hemp, sustainability, and your magnificent future. I discuss the creative juices that you need to access to create your magnificent future. I discuss why your capabilities are your greatest security and your greatest protection, particularly against governments that seem hell-bent on borrowing money endlessly, spending, and then expecting us to go, oh yes, government's going to just keep borrowing money. Relying on government is not a great way to create your future. I hasten to add that when I use the word sustainability, I don't mean we have to act like crazy people to prevent a climate disaster. I am not a believer in anthropogenic climate change. I will tell you why. I will share with you why industrial hemp can be a part of creating your magnificent future in a sustainable way because of the thousands of amazing products that can be made from industrial hemp. Stick around. You will enjoy this show. This weekly show is founded on the formula SA plus P equals S. Self-awareness plus passion equals success. Your self-awareness plus your passion will guarantee your success. Since 1993, when I left my successful legal career, after 20 years of loving the practice of law, I was inspired to change my career to become Australasia's passion provocateur, to inspire, provoke, educate people about the amazing benefits that we get when we discover and pursue passion in business, in life, and then our ability to inspire those around us, our colleagues, our family, our children, our grandchildren. Australia's future, the planet's future, I consider will be enhanced forevermore if more people are pursuing what they're passionate about. I've helped people in my work as a professional speaker, as an executive coach, one-on-one. I've coached teams over long periods of time. I've spoken in small groups, small companies, big companies. I've spoken in 8 countries around the world. My message is practical, it's relevant, it can change your life, it can change the lives of those around you if you act on the message. This show is also guided by Socrates' famous quote, "The unexamined life is not worth living." So I hope I'm provoking you from time to time to examine each week when you listen to this show, each week to examine your life and go, why am I doing what I'm doing? This show and passion and self-awareness all work to help you create meaning, to have a meaningful life, so that what you do makes sense. It is meaningful to you. It is worthy. It is worthwhile for you to do what you're doing. I focus on sharing one idea because too many ideas can confuse us. If there are too many ideas, we choose none of them. So I hope by this work, by focusing on one idea, it helps you on your journey. We're up to episode 58. Can you believe that? 58 episodes for regular viewers and listeners. I'm wearing my red jacket, the color of passion, so that when you see red, you go, gosh, am I pursuing my passion? It's a constant reminder. Red reminds you, am I truly pursuing my passion? Am I spending enough time to discover what my passion is? If you don't know what it is, it's not going to hit you across the back of the head like just some miraculous thing that happens. No, you have to do the work. You have to tap into your creative juices. And creativity is one of the core resources that you have, and this show is about unleashing that creativity to create your magnificent future. For regular listeners, you know this, but for new listeners, for new viewers, After I explore my big idea, I share with you a book, a quote, some humour, a song that will remind you or give you a new perspective on the big idea that we're exploring, a spiritual tip and a health tip. And this show is not politically correct. I am anti-woke. I am anti-critical race theory. I am anti-nonsensical, non-rational, non-reasonable, untrue propositions. So the whole woke movement is such a pile of overwhelming nonsense, and I'm surprised how many people don't know what the woke movement is. I'm against the nonsense of the Black Lives Matter. I'm against the nonsense of the defunding police, because a tiny percentage of police might be behaving badly, so you defund the police. How good is that going to be for the criminals? Woohoo, they say. And if you look at the stats in America, how cities that have defunded police as a consequence of this whole woke nonsense, Black Lives Matter nonsense, you know, it's remarkable, the increase in crime. So I hope other countries don't follow this ridiculous example. I'm starting to see pushback against such nonsense. That's what I mean by not being politically correct. And this show acknowledges that we have a spiritual side. We have a human spirit. It's a crucial element to our success as a human being. Now, this show also allows you to have certain addictions, just like I have my addiction to this magnificent coffee. Certain addictions are good. Well, we might talk about that one day, about addictions. Yeah. So not all addictions are harmful. I have an addiction to exercise, some of you would probably know. So, what's happened this week? Let's do a quick review of the week before we get into the big idea. In Australia, our Treasurer handed down the budget for the next 12 months. And for a liberal conservative, now liberal in Australia is the opposite of liberal in America. For a conservative government, it's gone nuts. It says it's going for the biggest deficit in spending in Australia's history. We're going to have $482 billion in revenue, $589 billion in expenses, $107 billion, $107 billion in deficit. And they say, oh, this is because of the pandemic. You know my views about the coronavirus and the pandemic, and the lies that we're getting, and that the science is settled and the vaccines are safe and all of that stuff. But under the excuse of this pandemic, let's spend like drunken sailors, because we've got to rescue everybody from our stupid decisions that we're making as governments. But what's going to be the price of all of this borrowing? You look at Venezuela as the classic example of what happens when governments go crazy. You look at the lack of services in Greece because governments spend more than they earn. These are crucial issues that relate to your future security, your protection, your reliability. And I say to you that relying on government for your security, for your protection, for your magnificent future is a flawed decision. And I look at what's happening in America with border issues, with Mexico, with the nonsense that Joe Biden speaks around Black Lives Matter and the support of the woke movement. I've already talked about. So I'm being very amused as to the price that America will pay if reason is thrown out, if governments act contrary to truth, to reason, to logic, to rationality. There is a price to pay. And those who want to tear down our Western civilization, I promise you, they have nothing to replace it other than totalitarianism. That's all. So please inform yourself about these debates that are going on in the mainstream media, but at the same time understand that the mainstream media will not tell you the truth. You need to look at other sources of information so that you can do your own thinking. The other issue that happens in Australia, and in America is, we've all got to be in this together. We've all got a responsibility for the future. We've all got to take the vaccine. I've seen this nonsensical idea that take the coronavirus vaccine. It's your community responsibility. Nonsense, I say. Total nonsense. We are not all in this together. In Australia, because I know this well, 2/3 of the population are having a magnificent time. It is small and medium enterprises that are being hammered by these government decisions. Big business, the Harvey Normans of this world, JB Hi-Fi, the retailers, like there's a mad, everyone's buying stuff, filling their houses with new stuff. All you have to do is look at the mainstream papers with the advertisements for the stuff that you can buy. That's 2/3 of the population. Not one public servant has suffered as a consequence of this. They're working, all their income is coming in. Not only that, because of all this government spending, more public servants are getting jobs. Woohoo! How good is that? You see, we're not all in this together. And when you see that and you start to go, gosh, is this sustainable? Because when I talk about sustainability, I'm not just talking about the planet. I'm talking about your sustainability. I'm talking about your sustainability as a human being to live the magnificent life that you want to live. And you have to get clear on what that means for you. Do you want to shrivel up through fear? Or do you want to be living a magnificent life, pursuing your passion, not relying on government? I urge you that to take on the idea it's a much better way to live life. Live your life. Don't live life with government dictating what it should be so that you're safe. Choosing safety at the price of your passion is a depressing, losing strategy. The other thing I want to report is that I conducted my 4th masterclass on self-awareness and passion. That's what this show is about. So please remember to sign up. They're 1 hour. I'm getting great feedback from that program. I share 15 amazing practical tools, one of which can change your life. So please tune in, subscribe, and share when I send the notices of the masterclass. Share that with your networks. I'd be grateful. Now, before we get to our big idea, one thing I forgot to tell you, regular listeners and viewers, I am indeed still exercising, and Julie's still exercising, and I urge you to keep exercising, because keeping this machine in good shape is crucial to your ability to enjoy this gift of life that we have. Now, before I get to the big idea, I invite you to subscribe to this YouTube, if that's where you're watching it, or to the podcast. I invite you to check out our websites, charlescovest.com, where I talk more about the self-awareness and passion quest, and covest.com, where I talk about corporate programs, executive coaching, working with your team, speaking at conferences. My books, Passionate People Produce and Passionate Performance, are available on those websites. Or you can contact me at my email, charles@covest.com. If you like this show, please share it with your family, with your friends, through your networks. I would be most grateful. Now, today's big idea. Industrial hemp, sustainability, and your magnificent future. This topic was driven by the Australian budget that was announced this week by the Treasurer. You know, I've already talked about the deficit. Rampant deficit, huge deficits. I have no deficit of coffee, I have to tell you. This is not sustainable. And you start to think about, well, what does it mean if governments keep borrowing money? Well, what it means is that the ability of government to provide services in the future that you might be relying upon, particularly social services, social security, pensions, health services, they will all be reduced. And that's why I talk so much about health. So take responsibility for your health. Do not leave that to the government. I've taken responsibility for my health ever since I was about 13. I remember when I went to my first naturopath. Like thinking that government can look after your health problems is a bad strategy. On top of this issue of government spending is the ongoing conversation in our society, in the mainstream media, of sustainability and the ESG movement. For those of you who don't know the ESG movement, that relates to environment, social and governance principles. That's sort of morphed from corporate social responsibility, and then we've got the concept of the circular economy to minimize waste. For me, sustainability is avoiding damage to the planet unnecessarily. Everything that we do causes something, but there are ways to do it that are more sustainable than others. Now, when I say sustainability, I'm not talking about climate change. And those of you who accuse me of being I say that climate change is not caused by human beings. Right? We pollute the planet. We are not causing climate change. Now, I will have a debate with any of you, and if you call me a climate denier, I will call you a fool, because putting a label like that on me when I'm hugely well informed on renewable energy and have been since 1992, I say you're a fool. I say you're a fool to call anybody, and I'm labeling you as a fool if you label somebody who questions this madness towards to zero carbon emissions. Governments are being sucked in by this as well, and that's because mainstream media, for whatever reason, is driving this process towards a global net zero carbon. The reason for net zero is arguably because people want to preserve the planet. I want to preserve the planet, and that's why I'm interested in sustainability. My family's had an interest in an organic farm since 1976, 45 years. We've had no chemicals on this. I'm committed to sustainable behaviour. I'm committed to my own sustainable behaviour. So looking after your health is one of the ways that you can sustain it. I'm committed to minimising damage to this planet. And so within those principles, there's lots of interest in that, and that is a good thing. But to throw the baby out with the bathwater, to destroy our civilization because our planet is going to be destroyed, that is nonsense. And I'll put it fair and square. That is a nonsensical idea driven by people who want one global government. That's the globalist agenda. They want one global government. By the way, they don't ever tell you who's going to be in charge of that global government. They want one global government so they can tell countries how to behave on the excuse that they're saving the planet. It's bullshit. Now, is your behaviour in your life sustainable? Because your sustainable behaviours are going to help you thrive into the future. Your capability is how you, and your creativity is how you pivot, turn, as many small to medium enterprises had to do with all of these unjustified lockdowns. As human beings, we are amazing. Our creativity is amazing. And if you want evidence for that, just look at your 2-year-old child, grandchild. Kids are incredibly inventive, creative. You are born creative. What this show is doing you is to get excited about going, wow, I wonder if I can be creative. Because what stops your creativity is fear, is this need for safety, this security. Your greatest security comes from inside you, and behaving in a sustainable way, being healthy, high energy, pursuing your passion. Now, industrial hemp. How does that tie in with this magnificent future? Well, industrial hemp, and I'm CEO of a company, Textile and Composite Industries. It's got the world's best hemp processing machine. Hemp is an amazing product that can be grown without chemicals. It can be grown organically, biodynamically, biologically. It is a magnificent crop that if you want a picture of it in your mind, it grows like, it looks like bamboo. It grows 2, 3, 4, 5 meters high. It produces 25 tons of biomass above the ground, 4 tons per hectare, 25 tons per hectare of biomass above the ground, 4 tons per hectare of root matter. It rejuvenates soil. It drags chemicals out of, damaging chemicals out of the soil. And so the reason why I'm excited about hemp, why you've heard me talk about hemp in the past, is because there is this link between hemp, sustainability, and your future. And tying that in with your creativity, you then go, gosh, there's a movement here of ESG, the ESG movement, environment, social, governance principles. Your company, be it large, medium, or small, can start to take an interest in hemp products. And you say, well, what can I make out of hemp? Well, the interesting thing is you can make over 25,000 different products from one plant. From one plant. Just imagine that. 25,000 different products. There are 10 categories of products that you can make out of hemp. And every country in the world can grow hemp. So from hemp you can produce food, clothing. This is a hemp t-shirt. Look, I've got my Australian Industrial Hemp Alliance signature here. There's our logo. I'm secretary of the peak national body for hemp in this country. Clothing, t-shirts. I can wear this t-shirt for 4 weeks without wash, and Julie assures me without smell. Shelter. You can build magnificent houses out of hemp using hempcrete. The fourth category is medicinal cannabis. Hemp is cannabis, so it's medicine. The fifth category is fertilizer. So as you're growing hemp, it fertilizes and rejuvenates soil. The sixth category of product is fuel. You can make ethanol from hemp. All right, and if you make ethanol from hemp, you're not affecting the food supply, the food chain, which is what happened when corn was used to make ethanol. The seventh category is composite products. Hemp can replace fiberglass, and anybody who's worked with fiberglass knows how toxic it is, how much energy is used to create the fiberglass, and you don't need that energy investment to replace it with hemp. The eighth category is body care and cosmetics, magnificent, to make yourself look beautiful. Number 9 is rope and baling twine and string. So baling twine made out of polypropylene in farms is a total disaster for animals that eat it, kills them. And the 10th category of product is packaging products. An amazing range of packaging products can be replaced with beautiful, sustainable industrial hemp. So that's why I'm passionate about hemp, because I see that hemp, farmers growing it, regions producing it, can create magnificent local economies in their local community, create new jobs, new futures, and you tap into creativity to replace wasteful, non-sustainable, polluting products with magnificent hemp products that at the end of the day can be composted, biodegraded, or reused. Now that's an exciting future. And when you learn about this, you can see that communities don't need to rely on government funding, but you rely on farmers growing magnificent biomass that can actually make communities self-sustaining. That's an exciting future. That's why I'm excited about hemp. And that's why if you look into this area and you start to go, God, what's a new way that I can behave that enables me to be free or more free of government reliance? That's a great way to live your life. Now, I'll put a link in the show notes for a paper that I wrote on your magnificent future, and it's linked to hemp and a world where vast ranges of products are made out of hemp, and I hope that will provoke your thinking. You can download that and enjoy reading more about it. So that now leads us to our resources, and the book that I recommend this week is by Yuval Noah Harari, a well-known book, 21 Lessons for the 21st Century. There's some good thoughts in this. I don't agree with all of the thoughts, but to provoke you to think about how to create a magnificent future for you and your family and your community. My quote for the week is by Stephen King, the famous author, and he said this: talent, and you have lots of talent. I've said before, earlier in the show, you are incredibly creative, and you have lots of talent. Every human being has lots of talent. Buckminster Fuller says every child is born a genius. Stephen King says this about talent, and remember, talent is different to skill. People say from a top world-class footballer, that footballer is talented. No, that footballer is incredibly skilled. Talent is innate, skill is developed. Stephen King says his talent is cheaper than table salt. What separates the talented individual from the successful one is a lot of hard work. I'm inviting you to do the hard work, and when you are passionate about it, then it's not hard work. That's the interesting space, because you know you're doing what is meaningful to you, what is worthwhile. My song, Because God Created the World, some people say. Great song, love it, I love the idea of it. What if God was one of us? Just a slob like one of us? So the song is One of Us by Joan Osborne. What if God was one of us? Just a slob like one of us, just a stranger on the bus. And so it goes. Some nice ways to think about it. God might be sitting beside you on the bus, but I want to provoke you to be creative like God. Creative for your life, because you have an amazing range of possibilities to create your life. So my spiritual tip is to go and do a spirituality course. Every city has people who put on courses on spirituality, a whole range of them, to tap you into a whole new way of considering your humanity. My health tip is to eat hemp seeds every day and hemp seed oil. We have it on all of our salads. You don't cook with hemp seed oil, you just put it on your salad, and hemp seeds we sprinkle on every salad. Incredible source of protein and omega-6 and 9 in perfect balance. And lastly, I've got a bit passionate this week, as you can probably tell. And lastly, my spot of humour is thinking creatively. And it's a great story, and I often share it when I'm running workshops for sales teams. Sometimes you need to be creative on how to, sell an idea. And I'm selling an idea to you. I'm being creative and selling an idea. And this one I'll read just because it makes it shorter. Airman Jones was assigned to the induction centre, where he advised new recruits about their government benefits, especially their defence insurance. It wasn't long before Captain Smith noticed that Airman Jones was having a staggeringly high success rate, selling insurance to nearly 100% of the recruits he advised. Rather than ask about this, the captain stood in the back of the room and listened to Jones' sales pitch. Jones explained the basics of defence insurance to the new recruits and then said, "If you have defence insurance and go into battle and are killed, the government has to pay $200,000 to your family. If you don't have defence insurance and you go into battle and get killed, the government only has to pay a maximum of $6,000 to your family." Now, he concluded, which group do you think they're going to send into battle first? I love that creative, innovative thinking. Not much difference between creativity and innovation. People use it together. I've been talking about creativity. Well, I hope I've provoked some new ways of thinking, some new thoughts. Thank you for being on the show with me. I invite you to go back to visit our websites, covest.com, charlescovest.com. Buy my books, Passionate People Produce, Passionate Performance. Consider attending one of my masterclasses on the self-awareness and passion quest, and thank you for the many who have attended the first 4. They're always live. I will be on those shows and you can ask me questions, and it's most enjoyable. The feedback, as I say, is most heartwarming, and people are getting value from the information that I'm sharing. Don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel or to this podcast and to share it amongst your networks. Again, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I wish you a passion-filled, challenge-filled, and thoroughly enjoyable week. I look forward to being with you next week. Bye.